Hello and welcome to Lattes and Lasers, where we dive into topics for makers and sip a little brew. I'm Amy Cant, and as always, I'm joined by my incredible co-host, Holly McCaig. How's it going,
Hey,
Holly?
yeah, seventh episode. We're almost to the finish line. It's kind of crazy.
I know it's insane. I am like, wait, we've done it. We're almost
And I, and
there.
I, and I feel like even though we've got a good handle on all of it, that like we're scattered here towards the end. Like we keep pushing, like we're like, well, let's not record today, let's record tomorrow because we're just
Hmm.
so overwhelmed and we're just like making it happen, So
Yeah.
uh
And I think it is impacting, like, for me, editing a little bit because I don't have as much time, and I'm
yeah,
crunching a little bit. But truly, I there isn't a ton of
yeah.
editing that I really need to do. And so it's also kind of that like 80-20 rule.
Yeah, no, agreed. Well, and then I used at first I was like, okay, I would since doing the social media part of it, I would try to think I could do all of it and get it all ready to go at once and then schedule it all. And I've found that that just doesn't work for me. I need to like do just a few each day and do it that way. And so you can start getting a handle on how it all works just in time for it to almost be done.
I
And then
know.
we'll be good to go for the next season.
Well, and that's so I think the beauty of it is
Yeah,
we're figuring out, like, okay, yeah, best case scenario, we have a full week
yeah,
to do all of that, but truly, like, you only need a couple of days,
yeah,
truly. And that
truly.
also feeds into my, like, procrastination
True.
tendency
True,
where I
true.
do
Yeah.
better work under pressure. So,
I think I do too. Like just knowing I got to get it done. Yeah.
yep, exactly. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I can do that now.
Yeah.
So yeah, but
Yeah.
I think, we're pulling things together, and we'll be announcing soon the winner of that giveaway from
Yep.
last week.
Yep.
So stay tuned for
Exciting.
that. Yeah.
Exciting. Well, it's that time of the episode where we talk about what we're drinking. So today, what's in our cup, Amy? What are we having today?
All right. Well, today we are having a medium coffee roast blend that's aptly named Big Trouble
I love
from
it.
Counterculture. Here is the coffee.
I love it.
And I feel like
Just it.
the description says like it is nutty and caramely and kind of chocolatey,
I like
kind
that
of
it
like
called it. I like that it said described it as luscious caramel.
yeah, the description is nutty goodness, luscious caramel, and indulgent chocolate.
Oh,
It's a
wow.
flavor explosion in your mouth. And what I liked though about Counterculture as a company is they source their beans from sustainable producers around the globe, making sure that everything is ethically sourced, which, we've talked about before with a lot of the companies that we have tried. One of the things they did say specifically for this roast was that they recommended grinding the whole beans immediately before brewing to make sure you get the freshest cup. So I thought that was a nice little
Interesting.
note. And I like it. While they said it's like nutty, caramely, chocolatey, it still has that nice bitter coffee taste that I enjoy.
It's funny. I so I texted you this morning and I was like, I can't find the coffee that we were going to drink today, and I don't know what to do with it. Like, I still don't know what to do with it. So I was like, let's do one of the ones that you had picked.
Yeah.
And so we roasted or we brewed that. So like I ground up the beans and I was like, I don't need a lot because I've already had some coffee this morning. Let me just
Yeah.
have just enough to make a cup. I don't think I made it strong enough. I think I didn't do enough beans or I did too much
Mm,
water just because I'm so used to doing a full pot. And
right.
so I was like, how much do I need just to do? So I don't feel like I'm getting as strong of a flavor, but that's my fault.
Right.
So, but I don't hate the taste of it, which is nice. So
Yeah.
I like how it tastes and um one day we'll brew our coffee and get it right, right?
Yeah.
It seems
Because
like
every
every
week one
episode.
of us messes up.
Exactly. I mean, but that's just That's
That's
how it
life.
is, right? Life.
We're
How it
keeping it
is.
real, everybody.
Yeah. And I know it says that the packing date is on the order as well. So you know like exactly when it was done, which is kind of cool.
Mhm.
So they do tend to get their beans out of, was it Armenia, Guatemala? I think that's
That's yeah, for this particular batch was Guatemalan.
okay, yeah.
Um, but then when I looked around, some of the other packing dates were like blends of like Colombian and
Oh,
Nicaraguan. And so like you may have a totally different kind of bean depending
yeah.
on when it was roasted, which is
Cool.
interesting.
Yeah, it
Ah.
is interesting. Probably like wines. It's kind of like the, what year was your is your wine? Yeah. So
Exactly. And
interesting.
so, and I think maybe that just kind of depends on what they have available, but then
Mhm.
all of the different flavors that they add to the roast is then what makes it that particular blend.
Right.
So
Got it. Got
interesting.
it. Perfect.
And folks, don't forget, you can always support Lattes and Lasers by buying us a coffee. Go to our
Yeah.
website, lattesandlasers.com, click on support, throw us a couple bucks, send us a bag of your favorite coffee,
Yeah.
and we appreciate everyone who's supported us so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So it's time to get into our main topic. We were talking about this last week about some ideas for topics, and I thought this was a really good one we could focus
Mhm.
on. We're going to be talking about the world of laser maker trends. I think a lot of our listeners might be laser makers. So anything from like, and when I talk about trends, I'm talking about things like third party might buy, right? Like
Mhm.
your blanks from keychains, silicone pouches, tumbler topper. Well, tumbler toppers aren't so much blanks, but even cutting boards. Like you might buy cutting boards to engrave on recipes, whatever. In the laser world is actually just evolves all the time, right? There's always trends coming out.
Mhm.
But sometimes those can be beneficial and sometimes not so beneficial, so I thought we could just explore some of those things. Like, let's talk about some advantages first. Maybe we'll start with
Yep.
the positive about these
Yes, we'll
things,
start with the positive for
and,
sure.
and we'll go over like our experiences too. So,
Yeah,
and we'd love
because
for you to chime in too if you've had
yes.
experiences.
Yes, because as you said, we both have hopped on trends,
Yep.
had successes, and we have had not successes, which is why we have a bunch of blanks in our studios.
Right.
But let's focus on those advantages.
Yeah.
So, hopping on a trend in the laser industry or truly the maker industry
Yeah.
as a whole, because a lot of things will translate from, the cricket area to lasers to other types of creative businesses. So here are some of those benefits that you can typically find with these trends. So one is market opportunity, right? Something that's a big trend, there is a huge opportunity and lots of people looking for that particular item or type of product.
Right.
And so following those trends can lead to more opportunities for growing your business, even if it's short term. And if that particular trend starts to gain traction, it can kind of snowball into a demand for sustained products or services related to that particular trend. The second kind of benefit is those that competitive advantage. And I would say this is more so if you are an early adopter of a trend,
Yes.
you have the the competitive advantage.
Yeah.
And so embracing those trends or staying on top of those emerging trends can help give you that competitive advantage against your competitors, either in the digital space or in your local area if you sell locally. So when you're one of the first people to adopt a trend, it establishes you and your brand as innovative, forward thinking, and a leader, right? You then become the standard that everyone else gets compared to. Um, Increased revenue is obviously another advantage. As I said, it may be a short-term increased revenue, but increased revenue is revenue, right?
Right.
And so riding a trend successfully can result in those increased sales revenue, and then capitalizing on those trends can attract more customers to your business, who then may, because of the quality of your work, become a loyal customer to you and then want to start checking out the other things that you offer. Again, especially if like the way you present everything, your packaging, your kind of take on that trend is unique, you may get a repeat customer. Additionally, I've alluded to this already a little bit, but brand visibility can be really big when you jump on some of these trends. Again, especially if you are one of those leaders in the trend. Holly, I think about, with TikTok, the tumbler toppers became really big trend. And so some of the makers who were some of the first ones to make those tumbler toppers, that's who everybody kind of looks to in
Yeah.
that space, right? So that establishes you as an expert, right, in maybe that particular item, attracts attention from potential customers, investors potentially, right, or collaborators, or just establishes you as that kind of authority, which could potentially help grow your own personal brand with speaking engagements or other opportunities. The next major advantage revolves around innovation. So we typically see trends in this maker space emerging from either technological advancements or changing consumer preferences. And by following those trends, you're likely to stay ahead on those innovations in the industry, which can drive your own personal creativity and inspire those new product developments. And I know, we've both experienced some of those highs, Holly, but let's talk about the challenges that come with hopping on a big trend.
Yeah. Before jumping the challenges real quickly, I did want to add, I think a lot of us see these trends on TikTok, Facebook groups, and it's a lot of times it's people like, oh my God, this product's doing amazing for me. You should try it. And there are a lot of people who they'll jump on it because of that, right? So the pitfalls, challenges, downfalls of just jumping on what's working for somebody else definitely has its place.
Mhm.
For one, it could be a short-lived thing, right? So I'm thinking closely about like the silicone pouches from Target last year, right? As school started, right? It's a very short-lived popularity. If you didn't jump on it quickly, you probably didn't get in on the sales, and then you're stuck with stuff, right? Here. So yeah, trends in the laser maker industry, they can be short-lived, right? But investing resources in it, that fading time and money that you put in it may not be the best thing for you, right? So you really have to think through some of those things before you jump on the trend. The other thing is market saturation, which we talked about tumbler tags, right? Like that was like, that's a big thing. And if you don't do it in a way to make yourself stand out, it's so saturated that you're not going to, right? Everybody's doing a name one. So how do you make yours better? You have to think differently. So there's also that technological obsolescence, I guess we call it, or
Yeah.
obsoleteness.
Yeah. Becoming obsolete, right?
Yeah, if you don't have that, right, it's not there. So you know if you're working on things that are just based on those trends, and investing in those, that could be a problem for you. For one, an example might be like fiber lasers right now, right? That's a very, everybody's investing. I invested, I get one this summer. Maybe that's not going to be great. Maybe it is. I don't know. There's like a lot of different things that you can invest in technology wise that may not be beneficial to you in the long run.
Like we talked about a couple weeks ago, how, I was an early adopter of the Polar,
Mm-hmm.
and we found that there were some major lessons learned
Yeah,
when you are
right.
an early adopter. And now people who are buying the Polar, there's all these additional resources
Yeah,
externally and from the company, right? And
yeah,
so that kind of plays into it, Holly.
yeah. I have a new, this is not related to laser, but I have a new BN220, which is a Roland printer plotter. It's like a giant cricket, basically. And it does wide, like 18 to 20 inches wide vinyl and different things like that. It's a brand new machine and it's not without its challenges. And I expect within the next year that the resources will be over saturated out there for people. So yeah, there's those types of things, taking that risk. Yeah, I look at that thing and I go, oh, should I have done that? Yeah, because it's scary, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes focusing on too many trends, like focusing too much on following those trends, that just, that's all you're doing instead of thinking about ways to like make your business better. That can just definitely take resources away from what you should be doing, right? Like maybe you need to be working more on marketing, right? That might be the thing that needs your time more or less. So if you're spending too much time trying to jump on trends, other areas are going to suffer. Been there, done that. I tend to be one of those hyper focusers. And so like if I pick something, I'm like, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, and then something else just lacks in my attention. So yeah, then there's also that brand dilution. I know I am a hard believer of niching down, right? Like that's kind of my thing. Like, and if I have a clear idea of what my brand is and my niche and what I'm doing, I got to stick with that. So if I start introducing things that are trendy that don't really fall into my niche, then my brand really gets diluted. And so I think I see this a lot in the laser world. Everybody, you could go to, say, an Etsy shop somewhere and they're selling ornaments and children's products and signs and maybe even like rated Christmas ornaments. I mean, you know what I mean? Just like different things. And it just dilutes their brand so much. And it makes it so I don't want to look through their shop because I'm not really finding what it is I'm looking for. It's harder for me. So that is one thing trending products can do for you, is dilute that brand. There's also the financial risk, which I think is the biggest one.
Yes.
So you start investing in things like third-party blanks, silicone pouches, the wristlets when that was real popular, right? What else? Cutting boards. There's a lot out there that you could be investing in, and that is a risk you take, right? Because you have to buy these in enough bulk that you're saving money to make money.
Right,
and
right.
not selling them, then you've got this all sitting on you. Granted, there are destash groups which help, but that's a lot. And I know for myself, I have started backing away more from buying third-party stuff because I know it's just not worth my time anymore. And maybe I'm not doing it right, but that's one thing for me that I just felt like was like, oh, this is just too much for me. But hopping on those trends can be exciting and fun, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna do this, but you just really have to evaluate what could happen for you and how much time are you going to put into it. Does it really work for your brand? And just finding that balance, I think, is the only way you're going to make trending products work for your business, figuring out what that is.
Yeah. Well, and I know it's hard, and you alluded to this, that you also have to have like your own market research, sort of like what works for you and your business. And that may truly depend on where are you selling and who is your customer. Like, is your main customer coming from Etsy? And so you aren't necessarily sending people to your Etsy shop. You've just built up the SEO juice and things like that, versus you are almost exclusively doing markets.
Yeah.
That's a totally different type of product. And that's maybe where some of the trending products may be more successful, because a lot of times markets will limit the types of vendors.
Yes.
And so you aren't competing against 12 million people at Etsy for that, wristlet keychain. There's maybe only one other vendor out of 200 that has something similar to you. And so that is another big key that can determine your success or lack of success.
Exactly.
And so let's pivot a little bit then into some of our own experiences.
My first trend I jumped on was the keychain wristlets. And I was like, this is amazing. I bought a bunch of them. I actually I kind of purchased some in the beginning from a US based, I don't really want to call them a wholesaler because you don't have to have a wholesale account. They're just more or less, they're buying from China.
Yeah, a
And then marking it up a
distributor.
little. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're more of a doing that. And then I've gone directly to Alibaba and bought pieces. And I don't do markets and I don't sell them. So that is probably why, because you hear a lot of people who do the keychain wristlets, they do a wristlet bar at the makers, and people come in, and that's fun because it's interactive, right?
Yep.
They can go in and pick the silicone wristlet, they can pick the disc that they want. Maybe there's a tassel they've added. I don't know, there's like a lot of different things. And so that is a very nichey, fun, exciting, interactive thing that's great in a makerspace, maybe not so great on an Etsy shop, right?
Right.
So that was my first trend. So I do have a lot of those, and I need to get rid of them.
I as well, probably not as much as you, but I have quite a few, and I really haven't done any markets since COVID.
Yeah.
And that because I'm now doing this full time, I'm
Yeah.
starting to look at, okay, what do I need to do to be successful and to find other avenues of revenue for my business? And so I'm looking at like farmers markets and makers markets. And so I'm pivoting a little bit to think about, okay, what products would do well
Right.
at a market versus online? Because on
Exactly.
Etsy, so much of my successful products are unique,
Personalized.
personalized
Yes.
items, right? I don't sell many generic
No.
items on
Yeah.
Etsy. Um, but it's hard to do a personalized item at a market, right?
Yeah.
That has a name on it,
Especially,
right?
yeah.
And
Especially if
so
you're not doing like a hand lettered thing or something. Yeah, it's very hard.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so trying to figure out, okay, well, what types of stuff would still fit in my brand
Yeah.
and go in here? And so I may be able to utilize some of those wristlet
Yeah.
pieces. I'm hoping I can get rid of them. And
Well, I'm happy to sell you mine.
well, I'll let you know. I'm going to explore it at a very small one next month. And then I will let you know if I'm going to take that off your hands or not. But, I think, I too kind of jumped on that wristlet trend. And something that I think we both found with the Laser Collective is our wristlet designs for those discs do
So,
well.
yeah.
But selling the end product ourselves is not working. And
No.
again, I think with the wristlets, it's a market versus Etsy situation. But a couple other trends that I have hopped on. One last year, when I was thinking about getting more into markets, because again, I felt like this particular product is more of a market product, was bookmarks.
Yeah.
So I have bookmark tassels in every color. And I ended up doing bookmarks as like freebies in orders where if somebody spent a certain amount, I'm like, okay, you're gonna get one of these because I just need these bookmarks out of my house. And what I was doing, I bought a bunch of the like flex material
Mhm.
that had different patterns, and because I was seeing people in some of the groups having a lot of success with those. But again, they were doing markets, and
Mhm.
those bookmarks are a nice like $5 item.
Yeah.
And sometimes at markets, it's good to have, that variety from a low priced item to some of your high priced items, because some people don't go to those planning or expecting to spend that $50 to $100. But it's like, oh, that's a cute bookmark. I could give that as a gift. I can
Mm.
spend $5 or 5 for 20 or whatever it is. So I have a lot of that, and I haven't even really attempted to sell those because I was like, this is
Yeah, and
what's the point of selling a $5 item on Etsy that I
eh,
have to ship?
right, exactly. Yeah, we jumped on the silicone pouch trend for school. Everybody knows they look like the little pencils and crayons, right? They're super cute. They are cute. I jumped on it a little late and then didn't even have time to get them listed.
Mhm.
So now I'm stuck with them. Now, I mentioned earlier that there are some destash groups you can sell your supplies. I couldn't even get rid of them on there. So I may have to like severely mark them down and list them again this summer in hopes that people are like, I want them because of the timing of it, right? So
Right.
you do risk not be able to get rid of it at all, you know, so that's definitely there. Another thing I wanted to bring up was I jumped on a trend of for earrings, seed bead toppers, the little round seed bead
Yes.
toppers, right? Which is
Mhm.
great, did well for me, did very well for me. The problem was being able to reorder when I ran out. They would not have them in. And because they're sourcing from overseas, the people I buy from, it might be like 3 or 4 weeks before I get the color. And then I lose out on the sale, right? So I risk not being able to make sales because I can't get what I need, right? And that can happen a lot in these, like you said, distributor sellers of these blanks and different pieces like that. And so I've eliminated that, although I have some in one color I'm going to try to get rid of here in the summer, closer to football season. But I think now my thought process is I'm not investing in that stuff because
Mhm.
I need to figure out how I can make it cute with what I have that I know I can easily get, right?
Mhm.
So I might try something completely different now. So yeah, you not only you may find a great thing that works for you and then it just doesn't because you can't get it, right?
Right.
Because it's so pretty. And I see that a lot in Facebook groups. These are the cutting boards I always get for my hand done recipes Engrave, and now I can't find them or they're out of stock and they're like hunting down trying to find somebody who has them.
Yeah.
So you do run into that kind of situation as well. So
Yeah.
it's
Well, and in those kind of situations, you're relying on someone else for the
yeah,
success of your business because you're
yeah,
using that third party blank or
yeah,
whatever. And I think, I am very much like you in that regard is the third party tools that or materials that I'm using are things like earring backs or a drop
right,
earring, right?
right,
Or like
right.
keychain
Easy
pieces,
to
like
get stuff. Yeah,
things that
yeah,
if I need to, I can get on Amazon and they'll be here
exactly.
tomorrow.
Right,
But
exactly.
when you have to rely on another third party for the success of your business, that's really scary, especially if you do wholesale,
Yeah,
which I know you've run into. And so I too, I'm like, okay, what can I do
yeah.
with the materials I know I can regularly get? And that also means investing in your materials and kind of determining what route you're going to go with wood, plywood, hardwood, acrylics. Are you going to have every color imaginable? Or are you
Yeah.
gonna just stick with a certain color palette and make sure you always have 10 sheets of that
Well,
particular color?
and I think you and I have discussed this before. In the beginning, you're like, I gotta have it all. And,
I
and then you have
have so many acrylic colors out
right?
here.
See? And
So
now
many.
after when you've done it for a while and you're finding what's working for you and
Mhm.
what's not selling, you start to be a little more conscious about what you need,
Oh
right?
yeah.
And I'm definitely in that headspace now where like I buy what I need. I might buy a cute pattern or some kind of glitter acrylic that I'm like, oh, that's really cute. I wonder how I could. I try to think about how I'm going to use it before I buy it, as opposed to just
Exactly.
buying it. Because
Right.
I think back to, oh God, early 2000s or whatever, and I was a night supervisor at Archivers, which is a scrapbooking store. It
Mhm.
was like a chain scrapping store,
Yep, I
usually for
remember.
malls. And I would go in at night. Now, granted, as supervisors, you couldn't check yourself out. So I'd
Mhm.
have to either go in early and have another supervisor bring me out or put it away that night, like keep it under the counter. And then the next time I came in, have a supervisor check me out. I don't think I made a dime because I was like, oh, I gotta have this new thing and this new thing and this new thing. And I wasn't like methodically thinking about how was I going to use this product. And so it's the same way in business. Like it's so easy to just want to hoard the stuff because it's pretty. I get it. But eventually, as you start like figuring out your your customer and what you're selling, you start being more conscious about what you're actually spending your money on, right?
Mhm.
So
Well, and I know I've talked to you about this. One of the things that I sold a lot of in my maker business before I had a laser was infant apparel. And part of this timed because I was pregnant and then I had a baby and then a toddler. And so I had a lot of connections. And I
yeah.
knew what was trendy in the infant wear space. Well, now I have a plastic drawer bin. I have so many onesies and I have an a 3.5-year-old who is
Yeah.
not wearing onesies anymore, right?
No.
And so now I'm like, I don't even want to do things with the heat press anymore. I'm like, oh, I burned myself on that thing too many times. Like, so if someone I know messages me and says, hey, can you do this? I will do it for friends and family, but I'm
Yeah.
not marketing any of that or selling any of that. But now I have all these onesies that I need to either destash or
Yeah.
just
Donate them or
give
something.
away,
Yeah.
donate, take the tax deduction, because there's enough to qualify for like a good old tax deduction.
Yeah.
Um, and that may be what I have to do. Um, but the other kind of trend that I wanted to talk about, and this kind of goes into the next kind of thing we wanted to talk about, was how to make trends work for you.
Mm,
And that, I think, truly is to find your own unique take on the
yeah.
trend. And you've done that with those tumbler topplers, because
Yeah.
you've taken your illustrations and made these really cool tumbler toppers
Yeah.
that nobody else is doing, because you are drawing the pieces yourself. You're not
Right.
using clip art or stock images, you're drawing everything. But one of the things that really took my business to the next level last year was sticky note holders. And everybody sells them on Etsy, right? Like, you cannot, I mean, there's like millions of these
Yeah.
products. But mine became a bestseller on Etsy and a top pick, partially because I was offering so much customization, which is a lot of work, I will
Mhm.
admit. But I started offering, I was like, well, why not offer multiple stains for the back?
Mm,
And why not offer more than just the pencil and the apple, right?
mm.
I now have like almost 50 different designs
Oh my.
personalized. I swear to
Yeah.
God, and I'm selling them.
Yeah.
And so I started, okay, I have my one listing that's has a little bit of everything, because that's the popular listing that gets picked up in search. But then I have, here's the one for the medical professionals, here's the teacher one, here's the coach one where I have all the sports. And I've been able to really continue to ride that trend from last spring
Mhm.
to that was still my number one seller at Christmas time.
Mm.
And I'm starting to see those orders pick up now in March, ahead of teacher appreciation, end of the school year stuff. And so stay tuned, because I have invested. There's a couple thousand sticky note packs in my office.
Well, and I think that really brings us to the big thing we want to share with people is that just because one thing works for one person doesn't mean it's going to be for you. So, do I want to take the risk and try to figure out a way to make it my own?
Yep.
That is the key. Like you said, being original with it, finding ways to stand out, finding ways for your SEO to really appeal to the people who are searching for that type of an item, that niche, that kind of thing. So, I definitely think that's where, you know, that's how you navigate, right? That's how you figure out like how to really figure that out, right? You just have to like make it work for you, because my last round was I'm going to do these little Valentine things that I've seen other people do. Didn't sell. I'm stuck with things. I said, that's it. No more. I'm done. I'm not following the
The
trend anymore. And
poppets.
yeah, I'm not going to do it unless it's something I don't have to invest in. If it's not what I have already, it doesn't fit my niche, then I'm not doing it. And so
Yep.
I really pared my shop down to be a more niche, more focused on the things that
Mhm.
work for me. And I think that that is something that everybody has to go through. They have to go through the struggle. They have to
Mhm.
figure it out. Why am I not selling? Why is this not working for me? And really ask yourself, am I doing it in a way that makes it appealing to the customer? Just because so and so is doing it doesn't mean I should do it. I mean, I know last year one of the popular laser people talked about these Easter baskets that she
Mhm.
did, and she made all this money, and that's a great story to tell. But now it's going to be saturated because all these people are going to try to jump on it and do it and not really try to figure out a way to make it
Well,
their
and
own.
I don't know if you saw, she bought a different kind of basket to do this year and then
Oh,
didn't have time for it. And now she has all this inventory. And she's like, I haven't even gotten my listing up. Easter's in 4 weeks. So
right.
she,
So
she fell for it too. Eh,
yeah.
You
So
know?
I really think everybody just has to like go through the struggle. They have to fail a few times to really figure it out. So
Mm-hmm.
we all do it. We all have been there. We all done it. It may take you longer than others. And you may never figure it out because you didn't listen to this podcast and hear what we're trying to tell you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah,
Well, and I think that'll lead us to a future topic. In the next 3 episodes, one of the episodes we're going to be talking about is SEO for your e-commerce and niches. And I think that's what the
yeah,
lesson you kind of learn is you're going to have to do some market research
you are.
to find that. And I know I'm working on niching my main shop and
Yeah.
then also trying to figure out, okay, maybe I move some of these products away from my main shop and move them over to a new one
Mhm.
that is just that particular kind of product.
Yeah, I have two shops and they're
Mhm.
completely different niches.
Yep.
Completely. And they all have their strengths and they do what they do and
Yeah.
worked for me. So,
Yeah. And so that's kind of what I'm starting to look at is what belongs in my main moneymaker shop and
mhm,
what are things that I sell some of that maybe I could pivot into a different shop and then
mhm,
focus that shop on that particular type of
mhm.
item. I with my new Mira 7 coming in a month or two, I'm going to be able to do bigger things. And one of the
Yeah,
things I'm exploring is those signs that a lot of people sell, but what's my unique take on it?
yeah,
And
yeah,
so that may be a spin-off store that I do is just signs
yeah,
and then take those non-personalized signs out of my bait and shop.
yeah, yeah.
So,
I agree. I definitely agree. It's one of those things you just have to kind of like you have to commit to, feel it out, let it ride. I think, but I do think people sometimes give up too easy before they figure out
mhm.
what it is. Because something's not working for you, think about how could you like improve on it and make it a little bit better before you give up on it too. So there's
Yeah,
that whole game. It is not for the faint of heart.
it's hard.
It is.
And
You know,
we've both talked about how that revenue is going to dip at these different points in the year and you plan for it,
yeah,
but
you're trying
still
to
we're
go.
both in this like period right now where we're like, "Ugh,
Yeah, holy crap, what are we gonna
how close am
do?
I to going and getting a barista job somewhere?"
Right.
And we are like a month away from me having to go get another job.
I'm feeling you. I'm feeling you.
So,
Yeah, and then just lastly, the other thing is when you're really trying to figure out these trends and things, you still have to build those connections with your customers. You
mhm.
know, standing out in that marketplace, making yourself look good again. So, like in trending products, this has happened to me over the past year, but I have had multiple customers in the last 2 weeks be like, ordering a trending product, right? And not
Mhm.
getting it from that seller.
Yes, that's happened to me too.
And they'll message me and I'll be like, I'm happy to help you. Let me see what I can do. Or can you make this and do this? Because I didn't get the best response from another seller. Like they were kind of like, no, can't do it. I understand there are reasons why you can't do it, but just be honest and like nice about it. But their experiences were not good. And I have found that building that connection means that I'm going to get repeat business for that
Yep.
customer.
Well,
So
and it's the quality too,
right. And they're
right?
going to tell their friends. And so it's not just the trend, it's how you treat the customer and how you
Mhm.
make the experience better. We're not Amazon, we're not Walmart, I mean, I talk about that all the time when we get reviews that don't make any sense.
Mhm.
And it's like I'm not Amazon. I don't understand why you wouldn't like contact me and ask me like for support or help or whatever. You know how I feel about
Yeah.
that. But yeah, building those connections definitely are going to be what helps you also stand out. And
Yep.
they're going to talk about you in a good way. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that it's figuring out who is your ideal customer
Yeah.
And that goes into that niche and that focus. Like,
Yeah.
and this is a lesson you taught me when I started exploring the laser space, was you said you may not be your ideal customer, and that's
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know, just because you may not be willing to spend XYZ on this item doesn't mean someone else won't.
Yeah. What's the big thing I always hear from people like, oh, I can't charge that in my area. And I'm like, the hell you can't. Let me tell you, I charge $22 for a tumbler tag because I want top dollar. And guess what? I am selling those at that price. And it
Yep.
is not a problem for people. So if as soon as you get out of that mindset to realize that you may not buy that, you would be surprised what you can sell.
Right. It's one of those things where you need to value not just the price of your materials, but your time and your talents and your
Yes,
expertise and
absolutely.
experience. Uh,
Absolutely.
and I think we've both found that, you know, I don't want to be the cheap seller. That's
No.
not me. Um,
That's how you get in situations like those people who message me and say, I never got my order. It's because they're selling it so cheap. They're overselling and under delivering and not being able to get everything out.
mhm.
Wouldn't you
And their
rather sell,
quality is suffering as a result.
right? Wouldn't you rather sell 5 of something at a higher price to be able to spend the time on it than like, you know, make 20 at a lower price? I would rather do 5.
Absolutely. And when you think about it, the gross revenue from that is probably going to be higher by selling
Mhm.
less at a higher rate.
Right. Exactly.
You know, do your research, do your math, and talk to your
Yeah.
accountant, talk to your
Yeah.
bookkeeper,
Yeah.
and figure that out. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
anyways,
I think this was a good topic. I like it.
yeah. Well, and we want to know what you think, because this
Yeah.
is, I think, um, a topic. These trending products or blinks are things that we, like we said, we've all fallen for. We've had some successes, some failures, and we want to hear from you. What has been your experience
Yeah.
with this? You know, shoot us an email, fill out the form
Yeah.
on our website, message us on social media. You know, let's continue the conversation, because the trends are never going to go away.
Right.
You
Exactly.
know?
Nope. I agree. All right. So, guys, don't forget to subscribe to Lattes and Lasers. You can get it wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts: Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio, all those places. You can also go to our website and find our YouTube channel.
Mhm.
And we do have a video version, which sometimes is a little more, interesting. You get to see our facial expressions.
Yeah.
Uh,
And
but
sometimes
yeah,
the video version is a little bit longer.
yeah, yeah.
So,
So yeah, we talk about all things kind of maker. This time we were like a little more in the laser industry. That's just
yeah.
kind of where our focus is. But yeah, come listen, subscribe, comment, let us know what you like, what you don't like, what you want to hear
Mhm.
more of. I think that would help us tremendously. So yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
All right, Holly. It's time for one of our favorite cheesy send-offs.
Oh God,
So,
I haven't read these yet, so I'm excited to
mhm.
hear it.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
like when you don't read them ahead of time, because then I can get like your real reaction.
I know, right? Okay, okay.
Sipping our way to the end of another brew-tiful episode.
Okay, and then mine is until our next blend, keep stirring up your creativity and making waves. Do we make waves with our coffee?
I don't know. I'm thinking maybe the Chat GPT thought it was like laser waves or something.
Mm, probably.
I don't know.
ChatGPT is quite interesting. Yeah, if you haven't played with it, certainly do.
Yes, absolutely. All right, everyone. Thank you. We'll talk to you next week.
Bye.